got to fight this guy. Oh, you got injured in camp. You lose to that guy too. Now you're set back when you could have been a champion.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of like weirdness going on with possibilities and, you know, just luck, bad luck, and good luck.
Bad luck and good luck. Timing, I think, is a big thing.
How is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's completely unfair. It is completely just, I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled.
And then going out there and taking on a guy that is maybe 92 pounds heavier, that is at least 65 pounds heavier than you. That is called one thing. That's called being a bully.
Joe Rogan strongly criticizes Jake Paul for agreeing to fight Gervonta Davis, pointing out the huge difference in their size. Rogan explains that weight classes exist to keep fighters safe, and ignoring them can be dangerous. He believes Jake is more interested in hyping up the event than respecting the fairness and safety of boxing. According to Rogan, Jake's much larger size and power could seriously harm Tank, making this matchup both risky and unnecessary.
Sure, but no time limit within the weight classes.
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
That would be pretty. That would be pretty wild.
Yeah, that'd be pretty crazy.
Because you know, like two guys are facing off each other, like, and they know, like, there's no rescue every 5 minutes.
Yeah. And you go into it knowing you're either getting knocked down or submitted, or you're doing that to the other person.
Michael Bisping also expresses major concerns about Jake Paul's plan to fight Gervonta Davis, despite the massive weight gap. He highlights that Jake is preparing to face someone who weighs nearly 100 pounds less than him, something that goes completely against the sport's balance. Bisping recalls that the proposed fight with Mike Tyson already raised questions since Tyson is 58 years old and long retired. Now, this new matchup with Tank Davis adds even more controversy. To Bisping, it doesn't look like a fair competition, but rather a move for Jake to gain an advantage. He stresses that boxing depends on fairness, yet this fight seems heavily one-sided in Jake's favor. Instead of being a true sporting challenge, it looks more like an attempt to profit while putting Tank's safety at risk.
One thing, that's called being a bully. It was bad enough when he fought Mike Tyson, a man that was 58 years old, and he was walking around like, I just beat the baddest man on the planet. I just destroyed Mike Tyson and went out there and I beat him, and him and his brother are all celebrating and shit like that. It's like, dude, what are you doing? What don't you understand about this? If you want respect from your peers, if you want everyone on the planet to look at you and take you seriously and give you credit as a boxer, you have to take on challenges that are real. You have to go up against someone that keeps you up at night, against someone that gets you out of bed in the morning to go for a run because the fear of them beating you down is real. Not going up against someone that is so small. If you were to go up to this guy in a bar and try and start a fight with them, people would look at you and say one word, whoa, stop being such a bully. Leave him alone. You are way bigger than this guy. And that's clearly what we have here. It is ridiculous. When you look at the tail of the tape, Gervonta Tank Davis, granted, a very, very skilled boxer, a world champion. He's had some great wins. He's had a tremendous career. He's got 28 knockouts on his record. I'm just looking at the tail of the tape here. 30 years old, Jake Paul, 28. Gervonta Davis is 5'5" tall, whereas Jake Paul is 6'1". I would never dream on picking on a guy that is 5'5" tall. Granted, there's some tough guys out there that are 5'5", okay? They're smaller guys, you know, but for 5'5", they'll pack a good punch. Typically, they're mixed martial artists or boxers, yeah.
Teddy Atlas reacts to the face-off between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis, emphasizing how dramatic the size difference really is. He jokes that Tank is so small compared to Jake that he would practically need a ladder just to reach Jake's chin. Atlas admits that differences in skill and style are normal in boxing, but says this particular size gap is simply too extreme. Physically, Tank is too undersized to fight effectively, making the matchup look completely uneven from the start.
Things, right? They should also have like the size of the ring, the size of the glove, all that stuff. Particulars should be in the contract, but I would probably look for one thing that is not the common thing to have in a contract if I'm Tank. A ladder. A ladder. Can I get a ladder? Somebody? You know what I mean? Hey, look, if he hits him on the chin the way he can punch, Jake might be doing a dance. You know what I mean? Not voluntarily either. Well, but we'll get into that more later. The thing that I'm talking about right here is what you said. It was stark. The size difference was really, you couldn't ignore it. We understand the talent difference, the experience difference. We understand all of that. But the size, the pure, and we understand small guys can beat big guys. We just saw Crawford do it to Canelo, but you know, a little different. The size difference was, I mean, it was eye-catching, jaw-dropping. And it made me think, and I'm going to ask Richie, our man here who's doing all the taping, who does such a marvelous job. I'm going to ask him, because I know he's an expert in this area, but it reminded me of one of the Rocky movies where they had the face, where they did the wrestling thing with Rocky and Hulk Hogan, a.k.a. Thunderlips. He was Thunderlips back there.
Rogan adds that Jake Paul's fights seem to be more about entertainment than actual competition. He explains that these matchups are designed to attract casual viewers by creating unusual pairings that grab attention. Rogan says that the betting hype and media buzz around these events are driven more by marketing than by real sporting merit. In his view, Jake knows exactly how to stay in the spotlight, using boxing as a business tool rather than a test of skill, even when the fights don't make much sense from a competitive standpoint.
That's a problem. That makes it a problem. My opinion is, I just want to say, in case someone calls me into court, I'm a fucking idiot and I don't know nothing. And don't take my advice.
I love the Saudis.
Don't take my opinion.
I love the Israeli government. I love everybody.
That had nothing to do with them. That was Jake Paul promoting it. You know, it's just doesn't bother me.
There's compromising the sport, and that's like bad. It's just like
if I bet on it, it
watching
bothers the
it is
fuck out of
hard.
me.
Watching it with people who are so in on it, and then also man, the sports betting apps, they introduced like chat apps in them in Australia. So it's like they're trying to take the place of social media companies where you go together and you meet your friends. Like betting should be exciting enough without having a weird.
They're just trying to draw you in.
Thing.
They're just trying to make money, right? So they're trying to draw you in any way they can.
Leonard Ellerbe explains that Gervonta tanked. Davis wasn't in the right mental place to fight Lamont Roach. He shares that Tank had been going through personal struggles and didn't want to add more pressure at that time. According to Ellerbe, this lack of motivation is why the fight never happened, despite fan expectations. He believes Tank chose to focus on his personal well-being, rather than step into the ring just to prove a point.
Leonard Ellerbe said, to tell you the truth, Gervonta Davis couldn't get up for Lamont Roach. And what does that mean? It means that he could not get inspired, that he was not motivated to fight Lamont Roach, that his mind was not in a place where it was like, yeah, okay, let's get it. And he was going to war with Lamont Roach. He was going through the motions with Lamont Roach during the training camp and could never really get himself motivated to really give the best of himself against Lamont Roach. And that probably affected him during training and during the fight. And that is something that can happen, especially if you really look back on what happened with the Lamont Roach fight and all of the ups and downs about that fight being made. Because first, if you recall, he wasn't supposed to be fighting Lamont Roach. The person he was supposed to be fighting was Vasily Lomachenko. You know, the guy that everybody says that he doesn't want to fight, that he didn't want to fight. Gervonta Davis was up and prepared to fight Vasily Lomachenko. So it shouldn't surprise anybody that if he tries to make a fight with Vasily Lomachenko, that fight doesn't go through. Then he tries to make a fight with Lamont Roach. He can't get the fight done for Houston with Lamont Roach because there was all kind of venue problems and drama going on around Gervonta getting a venue in Houston. So they wind up eventually moving the fight to New York City and pushing it back even further. So not only is it a fight where he didn't just jump out of from his last fight that he had and jump into a fight with Lamont Roach, he got held up. And then also during that period of time, he had to spend some time in jail for a parole violation after I believe that might have been after the Lamont Roach fight.
Reports suggest that Gervonta Davis plans to retire after his upcoming fight with Jake Paul. Insiders claim this choice isn't about chasing more titles or cementing his legacy. It's mainly about securing financial stability. Observers believe Tank accepted this fight because of the large guaranteed payout rather than for competitive reasons. Analysts note that he's faced major challenges and stress lately, which may have influenced his decision to take a high-profile but unconventional fight. In this light, his bout with Jake Paul appears to be a calculated business move, a chance to secure his future financially before stepping away from the sport.
What you making? Like, let's go band for band on what you making. Again, there's nothing wrong with Tank going to get his money, but let's all be clear that that's all the fight is for Tank. He's telling you without telling you that he's fighting Jake just because he's getting $40 million. So when we talk about boxing being dead, Tank has to line up at the front of the line. I can't blame him, but don't throw around, oh, boxing's dead and people switch sides and all of that. You chose not to be great. That's it. You chose not to be great. Stuff like that, choices like that will kill boxing, for sure. On a competitive level, it won't kill it on a business level. On a business level, until people run out of interest in these kind of matchups, it'll do well. On a competitive level, choosing not to fight the best will kill the sport. So maybe it's better if people like Tank aren't in the sport. And I don't even say that because I want that to be the case. I think Tank is ridiculously talented, but you can't want a fighter to fight more than what they want to. You can't. Tank fans or Tank people that like Tank and think he's one of the best, you can't want it for him. And then Shakur came back with, that's how I know you soft. I can't even go back and forth with you soft ass. You rather pop to me on social media than get in that fire and get embarrassed. I get it. Peace and blessings upon you, cuz. He says, the people got your chest out so bad. You talking like you a killer, forgetting that you the one that runs, bitch. I'll be bring the fight to you. This dude, a made-up character. Quote, blessings upon you. Clown-ass dude, wanna be Kevin Gates? Oh, my goodness. I mean, here's the thing, though. You can't say that stuff about Shakur if you're not willing to fight him. This is the point I think that we're going to come to today, is that Tank can say all this stuff he wants, but if you're not willing to fight Shakur, then none of it means anything anymore. Even if you believe that Tank is going to knock him out, even if you believe that Shakur's a runner, or that he's not in the trenches, or he's not a boxer that's willing to bring the fight, or whatever, none of it matters. You're talking from the sideline because you won't fight him.
Daniel. Cormier voices his disbelief about how the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight was even approved. From his point of view, the entire setup looks flawed from the beginning. He recalls the press conference where Tank seemed unsure about the weight class. A detail Cormier says reveals how unorganized this matchup really is. He reminds everyone that boxing's weight divisions exist to protect fighters and keep things fair. The lack of structure and clarity around this fight deeply concerns him. Cormier also stresses that Jake's size advantage is far too big to ignore. He questions how a fight with such a clear imbalance was ever sanctioned. In his opinion, the whole arrangement undermines boxing's credibility and puts Tank's safety at serious risk. For Cormier, this fight highlights the growing problem of prioritizing entertainment over real competition.
Jake Paul. Yesterday they had their first press conference. One of the most recognizable things is Jake Paul is huge compared to Gervonta Davis. And two, Gervonta Davis don't even know what weight they fighting, D.
Maximum weight of 195 pounds for this exhibition. The fight will be contested over 10 3-minute rounds.
I said it was 190.
The fight is 195 pounds, Tank, as you know.
DC, I watched this, and we have our priorities way misplaced when we're talking about boxing. Like, everybody's complaining about this Ali act and all. Like, how is something like this allowed to happen? How is Jake Paul allowed to fight Gervonta Davis? It's
I don't know.
Completely unfair. It is completely just. I can't say the word that I want to say because I don't want to get canceled. But this fight should not be happening, and the press conference was embarrassing. Gervonta Davis should not have a mic in front of him. It was absolutely embarrassing watching this thing.
D, why? Why, D?
Just the fact that, like, every time when Jake Paul would say something to Gervonta Davis, he didn't know how to answer it. He was comparing himself to, like, P. Diddy at moments, and I was like, oh my God, get a mic away from this guy. This fight shouldn't be happening. And then he didn't even know what weight they were fighting. Like, I thought
That's
it was
bad,
190,
D.
no, it was 195.
That was the craziest thing. That was the thing that stood out to me the most. Was that when they go, the rehydration limit or something is 195. And he goes, wait, I thought it was 190. Dean, that's bad.
Gervonta. Davis looks back on his career and admits that becoming a champion was never his main dream. His true goal was to earn enough money to change his life and escape hardship. Boxing was his path to stability, not necessarily to fame or records. Understanding this helps explain his current mindset. He's always been more focused on financial security than chasing legacy or titles.
And why he's fighting YouTube sensation turned professional boxer Jake Paul, who is 12 wins, 1 loss, no draws, 7 wins by way of knockout, opposed to fighting against the likes of his peers who are well accomplished and superstars in their own right for legacy fights like Shakur Stevenson, like Teofimo Lopez, like Devin Haney. Why he's not interested in those fights. And he gets real, right? He gets real, and only thing we could do is salute it, right? Because he's saying, I never told y'all I wanted to be a world champion. I never told y'all I wanted to be undisputed. I got into this for myself and my circumstances to escape from my circumstances. And that's real. We can't blame him for that. We hold him in high regard because the statements he's made and misled people when he said he got a hit list that he wants to check off before he retires, and that hit list includes Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Lomachenko, who turned down the fight because of a severe back injury. And then he told the world, he told Champside, it would be great for him to become undisputed. So I think that he had a change of heart at some point in time along the way, right?
The adult gives Jake Paul credit for using his platform to bring new attention to boxing. He acknowledges that Jake's promotional skills have helped attract casual fans and open new marketing opportunities for the sport. However, showbiz also recognizes the criticism Jake constantly receives for how he chooses his opponents. Many fans and insiders feel he often faces fighters who are smaller, retired, or simply not competitive at his level.
Boxing is going to sing his praises like a hero. Though Jake Paul is definitely appreciated by the boxing world when it comes to what he is giving to the sport, especially women's boxing, okay? I mean, it goes without saying that Jake Paul, an MVP, has added to the sport of boxing. But Jake Paul, the fighter, people are over his shit. There's a huge amount of boxing pugilists in the boxing community who's over his shit. And if Gervonta Tank Davis stops that, if he is the one who stops this whole train, knocking out Jake Paul, he will become a boxing hero. People will then say, now get the hell out the sport. And I'm talking about from a fighter's perspective. That's what they're going to say. Now, it's not going to go on either one of their official records because it's an exhibition.
Showbiz explains that this has frustrated traditional boxing fans who value fairness and balance. He says the ongoing debate is whether Jake is helping or damaging the sport's reputation. Showbiz adds that if Gervonta Davis defeats Jake Paul decisively, it could finally put an end to these kinds of mismatched fights. Such a win would not only boost Tank's status, but also make him a hero in the boxing community for standing up for the sport's integrity.
Optically, visually, seeing that go viral, and I mean go viral, and Jake Paul will never hear the end of it.
Help you up. We're going to help you up. We're going to see about it. Help you up. We're going to see.
Because Gervonta Tank Davis is not only a real boxer, he's a real boy. He's 5'5". He's a lightweight. Skills pay the bills. Let him knock out Jake Paul, give him Bambi legs, or knock him down. Gervonta Tank Davis, that moment, will go viral, and he will be a far bigger, well-known boxer than he is today, and he will also be a hero. And that's the Black Two Sugars. That you guys don't want to admit it. Don't bull jive. Think about it.
That's all for today's video. Stay tuned. More updates are coming soon.